Section B. The law of cosines.
Remember, we said to solve any oblique triangle, we need to know at least 3 parts of that triangle. The parts you know determine whether you use the law of sines or cosines. We've looked at the law of sines. Now we'll look at the law of cosines.
You can use the law of cosines when you are given a SAS, or side angle side, and SSS, or side side side. Remember, from left to right, when the last value is a side, use that law of cosines.
The law of cosines says that given a triangle with sides ABC and opposite angles alpha, beta, gamma, we can construct the following formulas. C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB times the cosine of gamma, or B squared equals A squared plus C squared minus 2AC times the cosine of beta, or A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC times the cosine of alpha. Like the law of sines, you choose one of these 3 formulas depending upon which angle or side you're trying to find. For example, if you're trying to find angle beta, or side B, then you'd use this middle one.
You'll need these formulas to solve oblique triangles when you know 3 sides or 2 sides and an angle. Let's do an example using the law of cosines. We're given a triangle where we know that side A is 2, side B is 5, and the angle between the 2 known sides, angle gamma, is 50 degrees. So we know the side angle side info for this triangle. We'll use the law of cosines to figure out side C. So we start with C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared minus 2AB times the cosine of gamma. After we plug in the values for A and B and angle gamma, our equation becomes C squared is equal to 2 squared plus 5 squared minus 2 times 2 times 5 times the cosine of 50 degrees. Punching in the cosine of 50 degrees, we get 0.6428. After doing some multiplying and a squaring and subtracting and adding, we get C squared is equal to 16.14. Taking the square root of both sides, C equals 4.02.
So we know the values for all the sides. A equals 2, B equals 5, and C equals 4.02. Now we only need to find the other 2 angles. We can use the law of cosines to figure them out.
We'll find the cosine of beta first. Since we're finding angle beta, we'll use the formula B squared is equal to A squared plus C squared minus 2AC times the cosine of beta. Substituting the values of the sides, A, B, and C, our equation is 5 squared is equal to 2 squared plus 4.02 squared minus 2 times 2 times 4.02. Once we square, add 4 to 16.16 and subtract that sum, which is 20.16 from both sides. We get 4.84 equals negative 16.08 times the cosine of beta. We're trying to find the cosine of beta, so we'll divide both sides by negative 16.08. After dividing, we get the cosine of beta equals negative 0.3010.
Let's take a break.
Remember we mentioned earlier that when we have a negative value for a trig function, we must use the inverse of that trig function to find the degree value. Well, that's what we're doing here. So let's pick up our calculators. We use the inverse cosine key on the calculator and find that beta is equal to 107.5 degrees.
Okay, solving for the rest is easy.
We find alpha by subtracting the 2 known angles, 107.5 degrees and 50 degrees, from 180 degrees. Remember, the sum of all the angles in any triangle is 180 degrees. So, after subtracting, we get alpha is equal to 22.5 degrees, and here's what our triangle looks like. You can tell that all the totals we found make sense because they form a triangle. Drawing out a triangle from your answers is always a good way to check your work. We're done.
You can also use the law of sines to check for complete accuracy by making sure all the ratios are the same. But we're not going to do that now because we already know the answers are right. We have trig professors check them for us. But since you don't have your own trig professor, you have to check your own answers. Ha!
There's one other possibility you might come across when using the law of cosines. You might be given the value of all three sides and have to find the angles inside the triangle. If this is the case, just use the law of cosines like we've just done. Remember to preserve these rules and formulas for your tests. If the last known value is a side, use the law of cosines. If it's an angle, use the law of sines. The law of sines is easy to keep in your head. You put the sine of an angle over that angle's corresponding side. Alpha over A, beta over B, and gamma over C. All these fractions equal each other. The law of cosines has a pattern too. You put a side here, you stick that side's corresponding angle here, then you place the other two sides' amounts here.